Harley Davidson reporting quarterly numbers just a short time ago, beating on the top and bottom lines, even though profit was down about 27% from a year ago. Joining us now, James Hardiman, Managing Director of Equity Research at Wedbush Securities. James, thanks for joining us. First take on the numbers.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, for a company with expectations as low as they've been for so long, you'll take the beat. But I think you put it the right way. Most of the major metrics are down, whether it's earnings, sales, retail sales. They're just down a little bit less than the street was looking for.
Does it count as turning the corner or not quite?
I think it's way too early to make that assessment. I think the general rule for me, having followed Harley for a long time and names like this for a long time that are pretty seasonal, until we get into the selling season, until we get into April, May timeframe, I don't want to draw too many major conclusions. And keep in mind, again, although they beat, domestic retail sales were still down 4% for the first quarter. And that was actually a little bit worse than what I was assuming. It was the best quarter, or at least the smallest decline that we've seen in over 2 years. But nonetheless, it was still a decline.
That came alongside some pretty big incentives they rolled out as well, did it not? I mean, how big are those incentives compared to what they usually offer that time of year?
Pretty significant. So I've been following this company for about 15 years. They offered between $750 and $2,000 in terms of rebates on certain of their models. Historically, and this goes back to prior to the Great Recession, the vast majority of promotions that they do are typically finance oriented. So it's low APRs, that sort of thing. This is pretty aggressive. This is one of the bigger promos that we've seen in that time. And yet, again, they were only able to get retail to down 4%. My guess, and they didn't talk about this in the release, hopefully they'll touch on it on the call, I do think March was a better month. I think March was the best month of the quarter, which is typically good news, and
wouldn't that be
lends
typical
well
just
to
go ahead. Wouldn't that be typical just with the weather improving? More people buy bikes?
Well, sure, but I guess the point I'm making is on a year-over-year basis, I do think March was the best month of the quarter. But again, I do think that benefited from some pretty meaningful promotional activity.
James, your price target, I think, is $35, a little below where we're trading at the moment. What are you looking for on the call that could lead you to upgrade that?
Sure, some evidence that things got better as we worked our way through the quarter. And ideally, that April is off to a strong start. But then I think more importantly that improvement, for lack of a better term, is not only sustainable, but that we'll actually turn the corner, I should say, and get back into positive growth territory. From what we saw in the numbers, that's a little bit difficult to discern. But we're waiting to hear what management has to say on the subject.